Okay, here we are. So I'll just let you know a little bit about myself, and you'll hear a little bit about it throughout this call. But I have 5 kids. When I started my Beachbody journey, my third daughter, the little one in the black in the front, was just a newborn, 3 weeks old when I started my journey as a coach. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. But I want you to understand why we're going to talk about this subject first and foremost. I used to wonder why myself personally, through many different trials with shattered collarbones, surgery in both biceps at the same time, problems within my family, problems within close family members, like all these things happen to us just like they happened to you over the past 6 or 7 years. So how come Scotty Hobbs shows up every flipping day for 7 years straight? And I used to wonder, why can't other people do that? Why are people not disciplined? Why are they not committed to things? And it used to really bother me. And I used to wonder, like, what is this problem with discipline and commitment? I got to figure this out so I can help other people. And this could be with your health and fitness journey, or those of you building a business. Same thing. Maybe you work for a little bit and then you fall off. Work for a little bit, fall off. Work for a little bit, fall off. So my goal today is to help you never do that again. I mean, you'll have a day or two that you fall off, but so that you stay committed for the long term. And it was not, what I discovered was not a lack of discipline. It was a lack of purpose. Okay. So I want you to write that down. If you are struggling with discipline or consistency in anything in your life, relationships, your transformation, your business, it's a lack of purpose in that area. So with that being said, I'm not going to read the accolades there. We're going right into this. I talked about my daughter in the front there. It was April 11th of 2011, and it was 18 days after the birth of our third daughter, Alina, that I was sitting in a cubicle. And I was sitting there before work about 5 o'clock in the morning, and I was going through my bills, and it was right before work started. And I remember opening the hospital bill, the baby doctor bill, the anesthesiologist bill, and a few others. And at this time, guys, I was working from 10 to 12 hours a day, from 5 o'clock in the morning till 5 at night. Gabby worked from 3 in the afternoon and got home about 11:30 at night. So, at this time, right when the baby was born, she was home with the baby and missing out on her income as well. And I remember thinking, sitting in my cubicle and oftentimes late at night, wondering, does she go back to work? Do I have to get another job? Do we pay more for a babysitter now that we have 3 kids versus having 2 kids? And I remember this day as if it was yesterday, and I felt like the world was very heavy on my shoulders that day. And the world was spinning around me like I had no control. I felt like I was drowning, and I was super afraid, okay? And I'm grateful for this day, though, because it's the day that my fear of not knowing how to take care of my family became greater than my fear of failing as a Team Beachbody coach. So that day, I joined as a Team Beachbody coach after playing with the idea and actually publicly saying on Facebook that, I'm going to tell you guys, I haven't really told anybody this, but I put a status on Facebook. I saw it in my time hop that said, if anybody could actually ever convince me to become a Beachbody coach, I would destroy it. I said that. I don't talk like that anymore. That was my Call of Duty gamer type of talking from back in the day before Beachbody. But I knew I would be great at it because I'm a hard worker. I'm disciplined. I love the programs. But I was like, I am not going to do that Beachbody thing. So I played with the idea for 8 months. And guys, these programs absolutely changed my life. They helped me lose in the first 90 days 38 pounds. So when this happened, I lost 38 pounds. These 8 months, I played with the ideas. I had these fears. I overcame those fears that morning on April 11th of 2011. But as I started this journey, when I signed up, I had no smartphone, no internet in my house, no laptop, no extra money to sign up, and what would seem like absolutely no spare time. But what I did have was a huge reason or a why, and we can kind of tie that into a purpose. But let's call it a huge reason and a why in the beginning. And this was it. And this is what I told every single person that I talked to as a brand new coach. I will do whatever it takes to bring my wife home from work and not have to take every overtime hour available just to barely make it by in life and to live paycheck by paycheck. That was my reason and my why. Guys, I realized that this was my bigger calling in life at a further date, about 8 months into my journey. And I remember this day as if it was yesterday. I was homesick with what we'll call the man cold. Any of you guys know what that is? It's when you're at a near death because you got the cold. The women know what it is. It's because when your husband nearly dies with the cold and it barely phases you. But that's what I had. I was in bed for 3 days. I'd missed work, and it was a Friday afternoon. I remember my wife came in, and she's like, hey, Scotty, you're probably going to start to feel better if you just take a shower, get dressed, get up, get out of bed. And she's like, why don't you go get Kina from the school bus? She's like, it's going to help you feel better to get out. So I showered, I got dressed, I started walking towards the school bus. Guys, I remember we live in the back of this cul-de-sac, and I was halfway down the cul-de-sac when this bus pulled up. And I remember it as if it was yesterday. The bus stopped, the door, they pull the handle, the door creaks open. And I saw these hands of this little girl. She's right there in the picture. Can you guys still see the picture? Can someone give me a thumbs up? Okay. Her hands grabbed this bar and she looked up at me. And she looked up at her daddy, and I remember she had this smile bigger than anything a smile that I had ever seen in my entire life. And at this moment, like, it immediately brought me to tears. And it stopped me in my tracks. I completely stopped walking. And I asked myself this question: how many moments had I missed like this? How many more moments like this would I continue to miss if I didn't change our situation? And it was that afternoon, guys, that I was called to a greater purpose. Okay, and that's the topic of this call. I was called to a greater purpose on that day. I realized that I too wanted to work from home and never miss another day of their lives. Okay, remember, my why in the beginning was just to bring my wife home from work and not have to take extra overtime hours. But this day, I realized that I never wanted to miss another day of their lives. I also realized that if this ex-drug addict and college dropout could do it, I could inspire and help motivate and teach others, anybody out there in this world, to be able to go after and do whatever they want with their life if somebody like me could do it. So today, guys, I feel blessed and totally without fear, working from home, actually a rented home in Maui for 6 or 7 weeks as we continue to build our legacy with a heart-led, passionate group of people and a company that's completely built on integrity. So guys, I found my purpose. I want to help you guys. I'm going to just share this with you. I'll share it in the link of the YouTube recording later. But I found my purpose. I want to help you guys find yours, okay? There's 5 questions that you're going to ask yourself. You're going to sit down later the rest of this week, and you're going to ask yourself these questions so you can find your purpose. And it's these questions. I'll put this link, like I said, in the YouTube description. I'll put it in the team pages to download this PDF. But it's: who are you? What do you love to do? Who do you do it for? What are the people, like, what do those people want and need? And number 5, how do they change or transform as a result of what you give them? Okay, so that's the Find Your Purpose worksheet. I'm going to share. You guys can, as you can see that photo, that PDF, you're going to see my purpose statement. This is something, guys, that this is the teaching moment. The rest of this call, I'm going to be preaching like no other, but this is the teaching moment for you guys of an action step that you're going to take coming out of this call. I'm going to share with you mine so you can understand how mine is. Then you can go out and create yours with your own personality, your own wants, needs, and desires. But one thing that I do with this purpose statement, write this down, is I read this out loud every single day. I have one for my business, and I have one for my role as a spouse and a father. And if you guys want, I can do the one as a spouse and a father as well. I can share it with you. But I'm going to do mine, my business purpose statement. I'm Scotty Hobbs. I'm going to read it to you. I read it every day. My name is Scotty Hobbs. I'm a husband and father to 5 beautiful kids. I love the outdoors, and I love playing the guitar. I'm an entrepreneur who invests in people. I love personal growth, health, and fitness. I love to serve people. I love helping people overcome their fears and their obstacles. I love teaching them to use their personal life stories and experiences to help others believe in themselves and find more happiness, joy, and purpose in life. I help fathers and mothers who know deep inside that there's a better way to live life and provide for their families. I do it so that children can grow up knowing their parents, and so that these parents can be great role models for their children. These parents need more positive relationships and role models in their lives. They need people who support them in going after their dreams, love them for being vulnerable about who they are, and encourage them to face their fears. They need a way to get out of debt, build retirement, and have more time freedom to spend with the people that they love the most. They want more time with their children and less time at work. When they embrace this way of life, they find a sense of purpose. They find happiness and joy in everyday encounters with life. They become victors rather than victims, and they become more healthy and vibrant, and they also bring a spirit of hope and positivity into this world. They find a positive channel to follow their energy and share their story and message with the world, which makes a true and real difference in this world. They're able then to create a life by design, which means they become the CEO of their own life. When this happens, they are able to reach and impact more people on a bigger level and spend time with those that matter most, okay? So that is my purpose statement as a coach. I'm just going to share with you guys my personal one, just to share with you guys. I'm going to share with you. Okay, I'm a man who, and this is for my family as well, because most important things to me are God, family, and business. So I'm going to share this with you. This one's much shorter, much more to the point. I'm a man who loves God first and foremost. Because I love God, I obey his commandments. I love who I am as a person, and the only approval I need in this life is God's approval. My marriage is sacred. I honor my marriage vows with complete fidelity, and Gabby comes first before any of my needs. I love myself and Gabby unconditionally till the day that I die. I make all decisions in my life together with my best friend and spouse as we ask God for direction in not only the big decisions, but also the small decisions. We talk with God not only when we need something, but on a daily basis. We start our days with prayer and scripture to invite the Spirit in our home. I stand for strong morals and values and do not accept anything else in our lives and in our home. I am bold in expanding my knowledge about the gospel together with my spouse and teaching these principles to my 5 beautiful children. God has entrusted me with these little ones, and I must express the importance of the gospel and its teachings as a way to find true happiness in life and eternity and teach this principle before play. I will be held accountable before God for my duty here on earth to love my wife and raise my children in love and righteousness. I must not only provide for their physical needs, but place more emphasis on their spiritual needs. Happiness in our family will be achieved when founded on the teachings of the Lord Jesus Christ, and not only by the ways of the world. Our family will be maintained on principles of faith, prayer, repentance, forgiveness, respect, love, compassion, work, and wholesome recreational activities. So that was last minute. I wanted to share that with you because I think you guys, as your leader and coach, you guys should understand my morals and principles that I base myself on as well. So those are my purpose statements. You guys can see that sheet right there so you can help discover and figure out what yours are. And now we're going to get into actually that kind of sounded a little preachy, didn't it? But we're going to talk about 4 stories, and I'm going to use examples and stories from the Bible because that's where I base my leadership and the teachings on how I've built my business, believe it or not. Because I remember I had this leader of my church, and he's the CEO of a different network marketing company, believe it or not. And he also owns a hotel and like 17 gas stations. I remember asking, what book should I read? I'm trying to grow myself as a leader. This was like 5 or 6 years ago. He says, I would base all of my leadership on scripture, on the Bible. So I'm going to give you guys 4 stories, and it's really going to help you guys understand the process of finding your purpose and then actually doing what's required to be able to live out your purpose. So the first story is about Elisha, and it's in 1 Kings, if you want to look it up later, 19:21. Elisha was this hardworking man, okay? He was a disciplined guy, and from what I understand, he was doing pretty good for himself. He had a farm, he owned his own oxen, so he's basically a business owner, just like we are as Beachbody coaches, but he had no purpose behind his work. Every day he would wake up, eat, plow, stare at the rear of oxen, eat dust, eat lunch, plow, stare at the rear of oxen, eat dust, eat dinner, go to bed, and then repeat the next day. How many of you guys feel like you do that right now with your work or even your business? It's like this mundane cycle. So one day the prophet Elijah comes out, walks out into the field where Elisha is working in his field with his plows, and he throws his cloak over his shoulders and he anoints him as the successor to the most famous and well-known prophet of the time. Guys, what I want you guys to understand is he didn't interview him for hours. He didn't ask him about all his dark past and secret. He was chosen and he was called. So my question to you guys today, I want you to ask yourself this question. Have you ever felt called to do more or something different with your life? Yes or no? Okay, next. God had for Elisha more for his life than just the monotony of plowing. And I believe, guys, that each and every one of us, we're so similar to this story. We can relate to this story so much because we're in this place where God is calling us out of a monotonous life where we have no passion and no room to share our gifts. And that was me 6 years ago. It was wake up, drive to work, write service manuals, help with the service department, go to break, eat lunch, help with the shipping department, drive home, eat dinner, play an hour with my kids, play Call of Duty, go to bed, wake up, and repeat 6 days a week. Guys, it was a monotonous life with no passion, no room for growth. And I remember it was a great experience, right? Having that job, I learned discipline, time management, some leadership abilities, continued hard work, but I was not living purpose and I had no passion for that work, absolutely zero passion for that work. So when April 11th came around, The day that I became a Beachbody coach, and later my school bus experience, about 8 months into the journey, I had my moment, we'll call it. Similar to this moment that Alicia had, where I knew that there was something greater in store for me. And what really stands out to me about Alicia, and as I tell these stories, I want you to think about your life. Picture you are this person as I tell you these stories. Alicia destroyed the only means to a stable and comfortable life. He destroyed the only thing that was sustaining his life and giving him food to eat. He killed his oxen and he burned his plows to follow this calling. And it makes me think, guys, am I that all in to my calling and my purpose? Am I that all in? And guys, what that could mean is, or what I believe he's talking about when he says burn the plows, you don't have to, like, you don't want to burn any bridges ever in life in any sort. But what I believe that means is it's symbolic of what changed you and me to the ordinary life. So that's things like a job that is not in line with your God-given purpose and what he's called you to do, or the passionless, purposeless approach that you're putting into your current job, or your mediocre efforts into your own Team Beachbody business. It also could mean something like a life that's a little bit too safe, stable, a lifestyle that's a little bit too comfortable and mundane. So basically what it boils down to, guys, it's important for you guys to make a decision, just like Alicia did, just like I did on April 11th, and later, 8 months later, a decision that when there's a greater goal or vision that comes into your life, or this purpose that comes into your life, for you to say, okay, God, I'm all in, or universe, I'm all in. Whether this means you're leaving something behind or becoming more passionate about where you're at in your life. Guys, so you guys have that worksheet. I want you to sit down, spend a day or 2 days, like put pause on everything you're doing, and like figure it out so that you can decide what you want and stay committed with it. So you're going to discover what your purpose is. You're going to start to understand it, realize it's going to develop over time, right? That 8 months later, it became much bigger. So realize you don't have to have it all down right now, but you can start with something. And speaking of starting with something, I'm going to lead into the next story and topic. Like, you're called to a greater purpose or a vision. You're going to have these doubts come into your mind. One of my favorite quotes is, if there's no enemy within, the enemy from the outside can do you no harm. Okay? So you're going to have these questions that come into your mind, like, am I good enough? Like, I feel that I'm called to this purpose, but am I good enough? And I'm going to continue talking about Alicia through this whole call with all 4 stories. One of Alicia's fellow prophets, he passed away and he left this widow behind. And this widow, she came to Alicia and she was going through some hard times. I mean, her husband just died. She's a new widow, but even worse than that, the creditors were coming to take her sons away as slaves to pay the debt that their family owed. So guys, to me, that sounds like a rough situation. Okay. I know that each and every one of you guys have been in hard situations in this life. And if you haven't been in a hard situation, you're going to be. One of my favorite things I've ever heard from Les Brown is, you're either just coming out of a hard situation, you're currently in one, or you're headed into one. So understand that's going to be a part of life. So what happens is the prophet hears this request from this widow. And what happens at this time is the prophet asks her a simple question. And I want you to think about this question and how it's going to relate to your life and to your business or whatever it is you're trying to accomplish right now. And he says, tell me what it is you have in your house. Okay? Guys, he doesn't just help her right away. And it may seem like in such a time like of such trial and hardship and struggle that you think he would just like come save her or like perform some big miracle right there and like pay the debts and make sure the creditors go away. But this is not how it worked. What happens is that the prophet Alicia just says one thing to her, and it says, well, she responds, she says, your servant has nothing here but a little oil. I have nothing but a little oil. So he asked her this simple question, tell me it is what you have in your house. He doesn't help her right away. She says, your servant has nothing there but a little oil. And it turns out, guys, that a little oil was all that was needed. Okay? Alicia then says to her, go around, go to all your neighbors, ask for empty jars. Don't just get a few, get a ton of them. Don't ask for a few. Take them inside your house with your sons, pour that little bit of oil that you have into all the jars, and as each is filled, put them to the side. So she does that, and she does as she's asked, and a miracle happens. If you don't know this story, every single jar is filled at the top. And once every jar is filled, the miraculous flow of oil stops. She goes back to report to Elisha about what happened and how all the jars were filled. And he tells her to sell that oil, and she does that, and she repays the debts. And her son, she keeps her house. So how did this miracle start? I want you to think about this, because sometimes in this journey, and it's happened through my whole 6 years of coaching, it seems like it's going to take a miracle to hit the next goal, okay? So with that being said, sometimes in life, guys, how did this miracle happen? It started with something, and it was just a little bit of oil. So sometimes in life, we have huge goals. I know that I did, and the inside conversation that I was having myself at the time was that I didn't have enough. I didn't have enough people skills. I didn't have enough followers. I didn't have any marketing skills. I didn't have any time. I didn't have any belief in myself. And so it's kind of like what the widow said, what I was saying. Your servant has nothing there at all. That's how I felt. That's what held me back for 8 months before becoming a Beachbody coach, that I felt like I didn't have enough. So we often tend to focus on what we do not have. Guys, like this widow, she didn't have anything but a little oil. But guys, a little oil was the vessel for an extraordinary miracle. I want you to realize that oftentimes we all excuse ourselves. Take note of this. We all excuse ourselves from going after our purpose and our goals and our dreams because we tend to believe that we don't have enough for God to work with. We feel inadequate. We feel we have a lack of training. We're in an inside leg. We have awkward people skills. We're introverted. We don't have enough experience, right? That list can go on and on and on and on. So am I speaking, like raise your hand. Am I speaking to some of your thoughts, doubts, and insecurities about this right now? Okay, I see those hands. One of the enemies, and I wrote this specifically for one of my friends that's going through a trial as I was talking with him yesterday. One of the enemy's most efficient strategies is to get you to focus on what you do not have, what you used to have, or what other people have, and other things that other people have that you wish you had. And what this does when you do that is it keeps you from saying, okay, what can you do with what I have? Remember that if you can focus on what you do have and ask for help, God will work miracles through you in your life. And I can attest to this wholeheartedly. So my question to you guys today is, are you willing to focus on the gifts, talents, and uniqueness that God has blessed you with and share those talents with the world? Comment in the thing, yes. Comment in the comment in the chat thing, yes or no. Are you willing to focus on those talents, gifts, and uniqueness that God has blessed you with so you can bless and share it with the world? So guys, we've talked about and gone over two things. Finding your purpose. I gave you a worksheet for that. Number two, realizing that all you need is just that little bit to be an extraordinary vessel of miracles for this world. And number three, where we're going to lead into that, is you can't just be hocus pocus, have a purpose, believe that you're worth having all of this and making this impact. You've got to hit goals. You've got to set goals and hit goals. My request to you guys right now is 1 in 10 people actually have goals. Become one of the 10. If you want to become extraordinary, 1 out of those 10 or 1 in 100, actually write them down and read them out every single day. Decide to become that one person. You're going to hear me say decision a lot over the next 10 minutes as we finish this out. Be that person that writes down goals. Purpose statement, goals. So important. Okay, so we want to hit these goals. That's all great, right? But we all want to have something bigger and greater out of our life. But how come, and this is the part I'm most passionate about, how come we all want something great with our lives or hit these great goals, and we want to achieve all this, but how come we want it until we have to actually start working for it? Or as I'm going to share with you guys today, digging. We're going to call it digging, okay? You have to dig. Write that down. I have to dig. So I'm going to tell you a story, another story from Elisha about when God delivers his Moab to his people. So if you guys don't know this story, what happened is Elisha the prophet tells the kings that water is going to flow from Edom by tomorrow morning. The armies, they're thirsty. All their animals are thirsty. They're going to die. They're going to get overtaken. So king is going to this prophet saying, we need help. We need, these people need water or we're going to perish. So what happens is Elisha the prophet tells the kings that water is going to flow tomorrow and the armies and the animals will no longer be thirsty and the prayers are going to be answered. But here's the thing. Elisha tells the king that they must take action. Write this down. I'm most passionate about this. They must take action. And he says this, make the valley full of ditches. So most people, including the king, would say, because there's no forecast of rain. There's no wind. It's dry. Most people would say it's hot and as dry as it is in the UK right now, right, Froso? It's hot and dry. So this is what happens. The king says, make the valley full of ditches. And the king at that moment, he wanted an answer or a solution, but what he got was a work order. So what I'm giving you guys is a work order. This was his work order to his men, Elisha, to the king, to the men. Get your men, pick up a shovel, and start digging. Guys, it would have been nice, right, if they would have just woke up with abundance thinking, hydration and water-based positive thoughts, and some yoga, and some visualization exercises, and seeing this water flow abundantly in their lives and their future, and they're not thirsty anymore and they're saved. That would be nice, right? That's not how it works. This is not how God operates at all. He works in such a way that if you really believe that he will bring the promise, you've got to show him by working in faith. Do your part, and he will be faithful to bringing you the promises. So that night, if you know the story, the entire nation, guys, I think about this as our team of Beachbody coaches. The entire nation, our entire team, what they did is they went out and they dug all night long. The next morning, they dug ditches all night. The next morning, the water came, and the ditches were filled with water. Instead of the water just flowing away, soaking into the ground, they had ditches. The water was collected in these ditches that they'd worked all night to dig, and the armies and the animals were refreshed, and they were able to overtake the Moabites, and they were saved, guys. So one thing I want you guys to know about the blessings in your life in the future and the business that you have, only God can send the rain, but he expects you to dig the ditches. Like I mentioned, we all want something greater. We have these goals, but we want it until we have to start digging. So, I mean, picture the work for these guys. It's pitch dark. It's all night long. It's hard dirt. It's a few words from a preacher. God expects you guys to dig this shovel, but he does not mean that you have to do all the work. I'm talking about this people digging these ditches, and I'm talking about us as Beachbody coaches doing the 4 vital behaviors, okay? And maybe call me the preacher. I'm telling you, the rain's coming. The rain's coming, but you got to do the work. You got to dig the ditches. You got to work hard and be prepared for that rain to come. Guys, you have to understand, like, I know it's hard, it's dark, it's pitch dark, it's hard dirt, nothing but a few words from the preacher. But he expects you to grab the shovel and do the work. And it doesn't mean you have to do all the work yourself. You have a team. You have God bringing the rain, but your job is to dig the ditches. Guys, it was a major sacrifice for these people in the army to stay up all night digging those ditches all over that valley. But what I want to ask you guys to remind yourself of, and it's all about perspective, is it really a sacrifice when God is asking you to do it in order to bring you more abundance in your life or to save your life? Guys, there were times I cried in the cubicle of my office. I would step out of my office during hard 12-hour days, and I would walk around that building with my hoodie on so nobody could see, because it's a warehouse of 100 men, and I would be in tears because I was exhausted of trying to help people and trying to build my business, trying to work 12-hour days at a full-time job, raising 3 little girls by myself while my wife was at night. It was hard, okay? But I had to always put it in perspective that, is it really that much to ask if I'm wanting more abundance in a different life, and for this to save this opportunity of Team Beachbody to save my life? So here's the questions that I want to ask you guys. Do you have enough faith to dig a ditch, even if you can't see any wind or rain currently in the forecast? Remember, you can't expect God to entrust you with a big goal or dream if you are not willing to take the actions to grow into the person for that blessing. He's not going to give you a 5-star diamond team, a 15-star diamond team, if you don't first grow into the person by digging the ditches that can lead that team. He's not going to give it to you unless you do that first. Number 2, what small steps and practices are you being asked to do? Guys, I'm just going to tell you the answer. It's the 4 vital behaviors. It's finding your purpose, writing out your goals, and working every single day in faith, digging your ditches with the 4 vital behaviors. Remember, you can't entrust him with that big goal or dream if you aren't willing to do the actions to grow into the person for that blessing. I want you to each think about your daily actions as a coach, as a human being, as digging ditches. If you really believe that God is going to be abundant and bless your life and bring all these blessings into your life, into the life of those that you're helping, we need to be digging all kinds of ditches, guys. And these ditches, write this down, these ditches can be all different times. That you could, like, the ditch you're digging can be all types of different means, like your words, your prayers, your affirmations, your thoughts, your relationships, your daily actions, the person that you're growing into. So what are the, oh man, I totally got so excited. I never used slides. There's the oxen. There's the vegetable slide. I just got pumped. There's the dig in the ditches slide. I've never used slides, so I totally forgot about it, but that's all right. So I'm going to tell you guys one last story to end this out. First, we're finding our purpose. We're writing out the goals. We're realizing, yes, I am good enough. There's a little bit that I have that God can work with, so I could be an extraordinary miracle to people, a vessel of miracle to people. The next one was you have to actually work if you want these blessings to come into your life by digging ditches. These ditches are the 4 vital behaviors, the steps that you're supposed to do. And that's what we're getting this last image. I know it doesn't represent the 4 daily vital behaviors of a Beachbody coach. I'm going to hit them real quick because repetition is key. Be proof the products work. Number 2, do personal development. Number 3, invite, which is make genuine new relationships with people and invite them on this journey with you. And number 4, to recognize the good things that other people are doing. Those are 4 vital behaviors. So how many of you guys, okay, this is an important one. This has a lot of meaning to me because it's something that held me back for a long time. How many of you guys have big goals to make a huge impact or maybe even a little impact, right? But you may be missing out on the opportunity because the small, simple things that you're asked to do not seem great enough to really make a difference, okay? Like your social media posts, like your 2 to 3 to 4 new invites a day, like posting doing a live video about your workout. Like you feel like these don't really make that big of a difference. My question is, do you have too much, I'm going to be bold on this. Do you have too much pride to go out and make a real difference in the lives of others? Are you being selfish because you have your own fears about what people will think about you, that you're not getting yourself out there to make a difference in the lives of others? So I'm going to tell you guys about a man that was a little bit too prideful, and hopefully we can apply it to your life. I can apply it to my life, and together as a team, we can become stronger. The name of this man was Naaman. And from what I understand, Naaman was this huge man of influence, and he came down with this disease called leprosy. Leprosy was a big deal. Leprosy was an incurable skin disease that disfigured the face, disfigured the body. These people were quarantined to die alone. Like that was the end of that. If you became a leper, it's the end of your life. They send you off. You're quarantined to die alone. And this man that has leprosy, Naaman, hears about this prophet that's performing these miracles that I told you about, okay? And he figures if there's a shot at being cured, this is it. This is my shot. So guys, I want you to think about this. You're looking at this Team Beachbody opportunity you have. You're like, this is my shot. I can become the healthiest I've ever been. I can find purpose in my life by serving and helping other people. I can change my financial situation so I no longer have to struggle paycheck to paycheck, right? So picture that, right? That's you. Whatever it is you're going through. That's what this man Naaman did. This is my shot. This is my shot to be cured. So he says that, and guys, this is the point in his life that we begin to see that he has another problem that's greater than leprosy, and it's his pride. And from what I can read, this pride is eating him up from the inside. And it's consuming his inside through his mind more than the leprosy is consuming his flesh on the outside. So he goes to Elisha's home, to the prophet's home. He takes horses, chariots, like 10 sets of clothing, gold, silver, all of these gifts to give to the prophet for his service because he's going to be healed. This is his shot. But he's kind of surprised because he arrives there with his chariot. He gets to the front door of where Elisha's living, and he's a little bit thrown back because Elisha does not come out to greet him. And he's like, why is he not coming out to greet me? I'm this man of huge influence. I should be treated like a king. Instead, Elisha sends out a messenger with some instructions, okay? And he says this is where this photo comes from. Go wash yourself 7 times in the Jordan, and your flesh will be restored, and you will be cleansed. He gives them the exact answer to be cured of this disease. Guys, this is an incurable disease. You would think he would be pumped and excited about this news on how to rid himself of this disease. But when he hears the news, Naaman flies into a rage. And I assume these could be some of his thoughts. Like, dip myself in that filthy, this river, by the way, the Jordan River was filthy. It was dirty. Like, dip myself in that filthy excuse of a river. I would have dipped myself in a river back home. Like, there's much clearer, more pure waters and rivers than this one for a man of great influence like myself. Guys, he was apparently more willing to do anything to be cleansed except for to dip himself in that river. I believe, though, that he's like many of us. And I'm going to give you guys some examples. Write them down. I will extend my love to anybody except that person. I'm willing to forgive anything except that offense. I will go anywhere except for that place. I will do anything. Like, I hear this all the time, Coach. I will do anything I'll do anything for this business to make this happen for me, but they don't do it. So I'll do anything except for these things. Because they don't do it because they have fear, they have insecurities, they have doubts, and they're not overcoming those. They're not reaching out to others on the team to help them overcome those. So these are some of the things that I believe we can relate to the life of Naaman. And I believe that God doesn't ask us to do certain things in our life that he feels are below us because it's a punishment, but rather because he loves us. He does it to test our faith and our obedience. Okay? It's when God asks us to do humbling things that we can recognize our pride. And guys, this great man, Naaman, is about to miss out on one of these miracles that we've been hearing about. In this story, Naaman is too great for his own well-being. He storms away. He just leaves. He leaves Elisha's house, and one of the servants of Naaman, asks him this powerful question. Guys, write this down. And I believe many of us can apply this to many aspects of our lives. He says, Naaman, if the prophet had told you to do some great thing, would you not have done it? How much more then when he tells you, wash and be cleansed? So how many times have we missed out on opportunities to love and serve and to grow our Team Beachbody business and to grow our relationships and our team because we felt that it was insignificant and that it wouldn't make a difference? I can attest to this wholeheartedly. Guys, I'm not the highest ranking Beachbody yet. I'm not a 15-star diamond, and I know exactly why. Because there's things in here I've been too prideful of that I hear in personal development, you got to do this. Like, you must do this or this will happen. And I've read it and read it and read it and been too prideful to change in those areas. And I have decided, especially after reading this story, that must change. So how many of us are in those places like that? If the prophet had told you to do some great thing, would you not have done it? How much more then when he tells you wash and be cleansed? So I think it's so important that we work on finding our purpose, that we realize the things we talked about, that we realize that we're worthy of living it, that we can be a vessel of extraordinary miracles, like the story of the miraculous flow of oil. I believe that if we set goals and not just visualize them, but dig the ditches with faith by the 4 vital behaviors every single day, we stay disciplined in those 4 vital behaviors every single day as a coach. And how are you going to stay disciplined and committed? When you're true and truly know what your purpose is. That's why I can do this from Maui. That's why I can get up at 4:30 on a 6-week vacation and do a call and do 4 vital behaviors and do Sean Week, which I absolutely hate Sean T workouts, because I know what my purpose is and I know what my role is and I know how important it is to challenge myself and to do the things that Carl Deichler, the CEO of Beachbody, are teaching us and bringing to us that will help our people. I do that because I know what my purpose as a coach is. That's how I stay committed and disciplined to it. That's why I'm going to do Sean Week insane weights right when I hang up this call in like 2 minutes, even though I don't want to, and I'm not in the mood to do it. And it's like 90 degrees and humid and hot. I'm going to do it because I know what my purpose is. So it's so important that you guys realize that you find your purpose. Let's go over that again. Find your purpose, write it down. Realize you're worthy of living that purpose, that you set goals, you dig ditches, you stay disciplined in the 4 vital behaviors, and that you do it consistently, not just for a month, not just for a year, but you become a long-term thing. This is my purpose. It's not like I'm going to do this and see if it works. I'm going to do this, and if people quit, then maybe I won't do it anymore. This is like, I'm going to do this. This is my life calling. I'm going to help people with health and fitness for the rest of my life. Like, that's decided. So I show up every day. If somebody quits my team or if somebody doesn't follow through, like, I care about them, I love them, but I'm still going to be here helping that next person because that's my role and my life purpose. So guys, I know this is a long shot, but my challenge for you guys is to take daily note of the impact that each and every single one of your small decisions are going to make over the course of your life, not just this month, not just today, not just for you, but more importantly, and for a bigger, I've been telling everybody, I've been on Facebook Messenger, I'm like, in our challenge group, I'm like, I want you to post daily about this. Not like it's for your accountability, yes, but this is much bigger than you. There's other people involved in this, and by you challenging yourself, the tide rises. We all rise together. This is much bigger than you. And remember that. The Team Beachbody, this is much bigger than just you and your goals. So we need to stop being selfish, lower our pride, get over our fears, find our purpose, and do these things. And I believe that if we do that and make that change over the course of our lives and continually adjust and grow, not just for you, but for the people that you come in contact by small things, we can become great and we can make a huge difference in this life. So I love you guys. Thanks for being on the call today. We have an awesome speaker next week. Her name is Dr. Lauren. She's amazing with nutrition. She's going to have some amazing things to talk about with this whole keto thing. I know some people are concerned about that. She's going to talk to us about the importance of nutrition, and I believe that's important for us to know so we can help our people. So if this helped you guys, if this call helped you guys today, I'm going to put the link to the Find Your Purpose worksheet so you can start filling that out, start discovering what that is. I want you to comment below, okay, with something that stood out to you that made a difference in your life that you know you can take and apply to your life and make some changes. So love you guys. We'll see you next week, and we'll see you on the team pages.